Hey everybody! Today on Sweet Nothings, I wanted to just take a minute to talk about the virtual copies in Lightroom. A virtual copy is a way for you to make different versions of a photo without actually having physical copies taking up space on your hard drive. Let me show you what I mean. Now I have a picture that I want to put on Instagram, but the problem is that my original photo uses a 3:2 ratio, and Instagram uses a 4:5 ratio. I like the original crop. I like the way this is framed, so I'm going to make a virtual copy to crop and put on Instagram. There's a few ways you can do this. Right out of the bat, if you're more of a shortcut person, on a Mac it's Command, on a PC it's Control and apostrophe. That's going to create a virtual copy. If you're more of a mouse person, you can right-click on the photo that you want to actually do this to, and about halfway down you'll see Create Virtual Copy. Now the other way to do this, if you're more of a drop-down menu person, is to go up to the photo and then work your way down to Create Virtual Copy. Any of these are going to have the same effect. When the virtual copy is created, you'll see an identical version to the photo, but it'll say Copy 1, and it'll actually upturn the bottom corner. That's your easiest signifier that that's your virtual copy, and the other one is your original file. Now the other thing this has done is it created what's known as a stack. You can see that it says in the upper side 1 of 2 and 2 of 2. It knows there's more than one version of this. It's created these little brackets on the side, and if you have virtual copies taking up your whole screen, you can click that little guy and it'll compress them into a stack. It'll group them together. You'll see now that this says there's 2 pictures represented in this stack here. If I click that little bracket again, it unfurls those. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to take my virtual copy. I'm going to select that image, and I'm going to go into my crop tool in Develop. Now you can either go right through Develop, or I'm going to hit the shortcut of R to bring me right to the crop tool. Now I know that they use a 4:5 ratio on Instagram, so I can go next to Aspect. I can choose 4:5, and that's going to now lock my ratio in the 4:5 aspect that they use on Instagram. So now it just comes to repositioning the photo to where I like the aesthetic. Might take a couple looks here. I like that. So now that I have that set, you can see how when I'm back in my grid view, there's my original, there's my cropped virtual copy, and I'm ready to export that to put on Instagram. Now let's say I want to make a black and white version of this. I'm going to go back to my original photo, because that's the one that I actually want to duplicate here, and I'm going to make another virtual copy. This time I'll use the shortcut. Now you'll see that there's another version. It shows me that it's actually copy 2, and now it says there's 2 of 3, 3 of 3, and so on. If I go into this picture, let's go back into our Develop module here. I can turn this to black and white. Make a couple tweaks just so we see how it strikes out a bit differently. Bring up some of that. And now when I go back to my library, you can see that I have the 3 copies living harmoniously next to each other. If I actually go into one of these and I hit I, information, you can see that it's the same name as the original file, .copy2 to signify that this is virtual copy 2. That's really it when it comes to virtual copies. There's not a lot to them, but it's a great way to have multiple versions of the same picture without having a ton of them living on your hard drive taking up space. Now when I go to export one of these, let's say the black and white one, it's going to take all those specific things in the history for this black and white and export that version for me. If you're not too sure about how exporting works, I have another tutorial specifically about that, and I'll throw a link in the description down below. If this was a pretty useful video for you, hit that like button. That'll make sure that YouTube shares it a lot more and more people will get to see it. From the Lightroom Whisperer, keep on Lightrooming.